22 BBY. The Separatists are in deep trouble. After their defeat at the Battle of Tef, they have been denied access to the Hutt's hyperspace lanes. On top of this, internal CIS rivalries and a lack of credits have left them looking for other ways to hit the Republic. Their best bet is hitting the Corellian Run, the great artery that connects the core world to the southern outer rim. They already tried and failed at capturing Christophsis to the north, but now they will attempt a slightly easier target: Ryloth. With 6 Munificent-class frigates and a Lucrehulk, the Techno-Union would take centre stage. Wat Tambor and Martuk smash through the tiny Republic fleet stationed over Ryloth, revealing the sad and evident truth that the Republic Navy was severely overstretched. Admiral Dow's ships managed a few ragged volleys before being overwhelmed and destroyed. That left Jedi General Ima-Gun and his second-in-command, Captain Keeli, all alone. They were part of the Republic's local Outer Rim garrison of the 14th Sector Army. The 14th was 170,000 strong, but its garrison duties were vast. And, like the Republic Navy, it was stretched to breaking point. The garrison, which was no larger than a battalion, was forced to watch as dozens of C-9979 landers came down and deployed thousands of droids. The Republic's forces were simply too few to mount a successful defense. Unlike on Christophsis months earlier, the Separatists weren't taking any chances. General D and Keeli would have the support of Cham Syndulla's Twi'leks fighters, but his main concern was the safety of his people, not glory for the clone army. So the Republic was forced back and back into the canyons of Ryloth, a winding maze-like formation of mountains that connected many of its population centres. D decided that this was where the clones would make their stand. So fierce was the droids' advance that the Republic only had time to dig some basic trenches and scrape together a couple of ATTEs, but with his left flank dissolving fast, General D needed a radical action to halt their advance. He and Keeli would order the only surviving LA-80 gunship to be positioned at a small choke point in the canyon, laced with every explosive they could find. With the trap set, the clones retreated to a safe distance. When the first droids were in range, they detonated the gunship, causing a complete collapse of the surrounding canyon. This avenue attack was now blocked for the droids. They would have to find another way around. For the clones, it would spare them a few needed hours at most, but it crucially allowed the Twi'leks to escape across a much narrower mountain pass in relative safety. But their survival would come at a grave cost to the Republic, because for the clones there was no escape. As the droids amassed just out of the clones' range to the north, they stacked their ranks with B1s, B2s and AATs. In such a small space, the droid tactic of marching shoulder to shoulder would prove, for once, to be undefeatable. With only one intact clone company left, Captain Keeli took his place at the front of the clone lines. As the droids came into view, the two sides traded broadsides. In such a confined area, it was hard to miss. Keeli kept up the fighting spirit of his men with a constant blasting of his dual DC-17s, a popular choice for skilled frontline officers. But as the droids got closer and closer, that skill would count for nothing. The odds were never in the clones' favour, and their outcome was always sealed. Despite a heroic last stand, with Keeli even getting back up after being knocked unconscious, both General D and his clone captain would be surrounded and cut down. But their sacrifice would not be in vain. The Twi'leks had managed to escape far into the wastelands of Ryloth, from where they mounted a guerrilla war against the Separatist occupiers. However, for the Republic High Command, it was a long overdue wake-up call. Their overstretched and exposed garrisons in the Outer Rim were now all susceptible to attack. They would at last begin a wave of fresh counterattacks against the Separatists. And as the next year of the Clone Wars came into view, the Republic would draw up plans for their largest ground deployment since Geonosis. 21 BBY would see the reconquest of Ryloth. Hello, I am Ryloth, and thank you very much for watching this shorter video, which is really meant to set the scene for the 3-part mini-series on the Ryloth campaign. I made this part a bit shorter to hopefully set expectations and explain that the fight for Ryloth was not a single battle, but 2 separate incidents. So I hope you'll be patient with me as I make the next 2 installments, which will cover the Republic's reconquest of Ryloth and some of the political implications of the invasion. If you could subscribe, that would be greatly appreciated. I'm always leaking things that I probably shouldn't in my Discord server, if you want to join that. But that's all from me, and I'll see you around.